Hi there, and welcome to another relaxing long play. Today, we take advantage of a few hot fixes to the game to resurrect production and embark on a final raft of upgrades before drawing our playthrough here to an end. So, without further ado, grab a drink, make yourself comfortable and relax alongside me in Manor Lords. Boatlandia rests easy. The manor stands at the centre of our busy and ever-growing small town. We are still some 2 months away from the harvest beginning. But let's speed on over to initially start in Manor. We've got a whole raft of properties here ready to upgrade, so we'll get straight on with that. Get these new dwellings upgraded to level 2. So we can fortify our income, because we certainly aren't making the most of paying the king. Not that we're too bothered about that. What good has the king ever done for us anyway? So let's get all of these upgraded. And how are we doing for housing space? Apparently less than enough. Let's upgrade the tavern, because we can, and there's no reason to not do so. Have we got people sat around in the farmhouses? No, looks good. We've got the new farms here, which we will be making use of for rye come time. And we've also got some barley growing here as well. I don't imagine we're going to be making very much of that here, but I do believe we've got a few other spots of fertility we can use that are even approaching good fertility. But now we've got all those properties upgrading. We've got 9 unassigned families, so we've got a fair few available for construction. We've got 14 OXEN, which is a decent number, but I wouldn't mind having a few extra. We've got a neat little gap here. Let's pop down a couple of extra hitching posts there. And let's make sure we've got foresters aplenty working on keeping our forests lush and full. So we'll assign a handful of families to that. Looking okay for fuel, but we could do a little bit more. And we've plenty of firewood. So actually let's take 3 men out of the woodcutter's lodge. And let's build an additional charcoal kiln, so that we can convert all of that good firewood into better charcoal. Manor is growing nicely. Population here now up to 312 people. There was a time when it was truly a tiny space. So, what are we looking to produce here in Manor? Carrots, rye bread, and hides are what I'm looking to export. So how are we doing on those metrics? So we have plenty of tools. Carrots, got 568 carrots. We've got 120 rye bread. It's a fair amount of rye bread. We've actually got more wheat bread at the moment though. And hides. We've got 29 pelts. That's pelts. Opposed to hides here at the moment. And let's take a look at our trading post. There you can see we're importing rubble stone and dress stone as we need it. And we haven't started exporting any rye bread yet. We have got 18 months of food, so that will be fine. You can see we're exporting carrots over 600. And then let's take a look also. The last land is upgraded. That's splendid news. We'll go and check them out soon. Let's ensure that we have... do we need to open a route for hides? We have plenty of pelts. I think we'll see what we produce and how stock levels change over time. before we dedicate ourselves to selling one or the other. I think we're probably turning everything into leather at the moment, so I don't want to export stuff we don't have surplus of, but we can export rye bread. So let's open a trade route for rye bread, and let's export everything over 100, because we are going to be expanding rye production significantly come the next harvest. And facility very low for the wheat fields here. Rye fields even. We'll have to see what happens with those. They have got a fallow year coming up, so that should help. And what are our good people here wanting? Typical people. They want beer and they want clothes. Well, I'm sure we'll be able to fulfill that in time. How much salt are we producing these days? 12. 17 in the last 30 days. And with that information, let's go and take a look at Boatlandia. And that's not Boatlandia. Getting lost in our own lands. Let's go and look at Boatlandia. How much? Ooh, 26 in the last 30 days. So friends, I am very happy to tell you that I sat down today to start recording a lovely, relaxing long play of Manor Lords. And I found there was a little update to the game. And as it was downloading, I was thinking, goodness, am I going to be able to make use of my deep mines? Am I going to be able to see malt? And yes, I can see malt in the crops tab, under crafting materials, and we can start once again producing good amounts of material. Because the yield from deep mines has been fixed. We're now actually producing a lot more salt here, and clay, and also iron in Ironheart. So Ironheart can be true in name once more, which is very exciting. So what we're going to do immediately with this new information is look at how much pork we have here. We've got 135. And let's go and change over one of our goat farms. And we're going to make them into a butcher. And they're going to make sausage from salted meats. Because now we have a decent source of salt. And you know what? I'm also going to go over to our trading post. And we can revisit. It's probably still set up for export actually. We can revisit salt. Exporting everything over, let's say, a surplus of 100 if we're going to make sausages. And already the salt is pouring in. And Boatlandia, for the first time in a generation, will once again be able to make a vast sum from the creation and sale of roof tiles. We never thought we would see the day. So how are we doing for extraction of clay? We're up to 58 clay already. So let's go about re-employing workers to work in the clay furnace. And so excited am I at the new prospect that I'm thinking about adding additional housing and another mine. So we're going to go straight away and open up another mining pit where one once stood. And actually these new burger spots here are going to provide a little workforce to go and work in the deep mines, although they are going to be primarily here to tend to their luscious vineyards of trees. And on that note, orchards even, let's get some orchards set up here and planted as soon as possible so that we might deeply forest this hillside, which will bring me great joy. And we've got workers in our foresters' huts. We've got plenty of space for accommodation here. We've got 9 dwellings for available living spaces. Lots and lots of people are going to be moving in. And I wonder if we will continue to have the issue of clothing. We're actually up to 31 clothes and 45 shoes. That gives me hope, more hope again, that perhaps the little bug we saw with the number of clothes being produced has been fixed. So, mayhap that our population of Boatlandia will be happy, clothed and booted for the first time in a generation. An exciting prospect, I think you'll agree. do want to make sure we maintain a forest over here. I'm going to assign a couple of extra families while we can, because the harvest is fairly close at hand. Let's continue to take stock of our lands. Coal spit is fine. Looks like we've had some issues with the harvest everywhere. I wonder if the update has given us a great blessing in that things now work, but also perhaps a slight curse in that anything that was planted pre-update has not grown. So maybe this year is a wasted harvest. We'll have to wait and see when we start gathering in the crops as to whether or not the crops actually end up making their way into our granaries, or whether they are simply there to look nice and don't actually do anything at the moment. But only time will tell. And actually, we have got some flax growing in this field. 44 out of 101, so, and flax here. Maybe there's hope, but also maybe that was planted after the fact. We'll have to wait and see. So we have our gorgeous orchards here that were freshly built, and we have the oh so beautiful waterside properties. Let's go ahead and upgrade that where we're offered. The others already look to be at level 2. And here we have the age-old problem, I imagine, of garments. I imagine, though we are starting to get a supply of garments, it may be a minute or two before they work their way into our markets. Yes, there's only one in the storehouse, and there'll be less than that in the 16 families of clothing. So they're going to take a little while. You can see the ones actually nearest the food stall have started to receive clothing. Actually, all they need now is beverages. So I do believe that over time we're going to start to see lots and lots of properties, possibly across Frostcheck as we open up our first tavern here, but especially over Boatlandia, where we're going to finally be able to start upgrading to level 3 at some speed. And we may also find that we now have far too many tailor shops, especially in Boatlandia. Again, time will tell, so we won't worry about it too much for the moment. We'll just keep on keeping on, going about things how we did previously, and just adjusting our tactics as we need to. Remember, we're not looking for perfection, we're looking for typical. Alrighty, we've worked our way through all of our grain from last year, so we can free up these windmill workers. They needn't be sitting there twiddling their thumbs, because soon they'll be in the farms, producing a maybe harvest. They can twiddle their thumbs doing that instead. So Frostcheck is growing at quite a rate, and actually we skipped over. Oh, let's see over here. Didn't skip over anything. Let's go and look at Lagstrass. Same problems with the farms here potentially, but we'll have to wait and see. And have we made any progress here working our way through our grain? We have. So the windmillmen are not needed. They can go and make themselves useful elsewhere. The quarries are fully manned with families. And how are we doing for the leather and pork here that we're selling alongside our stone? 198 leather. And 137 pork, pretty good for pork as well. Let's check what's being traded. So we're exporting pork over 120. And we're exporting leather over 200. So we're exporting all that. You can see with 6,892 regional wealth, we certainly are bringing in all of the dough. Our new burgage plots here are planting up with vegetables nicely, and you can see down here in our new hamlet, properties are ready to get on with upgrading. So we'll work on these here, get them upgraded, because soon we're going to be opening a tavern here. So we want to make sure that everything is at level 2, ready to upgrade to level 3. And we can see that we're still not quite done with some of the latest construction in the hamlet. I'm tempted on a few of these to maybe even add some little orchards, just for a bit of spice. Maybe a tiny vegetable plot, and then we'll get some animal pens and just mix it up a little bit over here. A bit more diversification than we have had elsewhere. And that one there will almost certainly make a vegetable plot as well, or possibly an orchard, backing onto these orchards here. So we have our tavern here. And how are we doing here? Do we have any malt production in this region? I don't believe we do. And now we can actually check. No, we don't have any malt. That's something we're going to need to trade for if we don't have any barley planted. Which I doubt we do here. Do we have anywhere here that we could get away with growing barley? Not looking hopeful. This and this might be the only area, and obviously we're not able to build on those. I suppose we could clear out these buildings, but I'm not especially inclined to do that. We could potentially plant some over here, but you know what? We're not shy on money here. We're making a good amount of income from our various endeavours, especially with dressed stone. And in fact, if we look at... oh my gosh. I see more perks. Right, well, we'll be revisiting that once we have recapped all of our various settlements. But if we look at records, we made 800 from sale of pork, and we've made 1300 from rubble, over 7,500 from dressed stone, and 421 from leather. So I think we can probably afford to start buying in some malt. And then if we really start to struggle on the money side of things, then we'll address that as and when we need to, and perhaps start trading with some of our neighbouring settlements as opposed to buying in malt off of the open market. But let's set that to import. And let's say we want to have a surplus of 30 at any given time. And then one of our lovely new properties down here, not the larger ones, let's put some vegetable plots in here and a little orchard in there. But perhaps, actually, how are we doing for clothing? 22 clothes already. I'll leave these as tailors for the time being. But maybe one of these properties here, on this row, we will make into a brewery to brew from the new malt income that we're going to have here. And with 28 unassigned families working hard. Oh my goodness. Tell me it's not true. Tell me I have more than 4 oxen here. That's yes, that's embarrassing. There's no two ways about that. Alright, let's get on an industrial oxidation process, as we've had to do elsewhere, where we've let the size of our village outstrip the pace at which we're expanding things like ox populations. No wonder there's so many logs lying around the place. There's not a man to bloomin'. There's plenty of men. There's not an ox to pull them. Right. Let's build all of those. Let's get some in here as well. And we must have a livestock trader because we have sheep. Just gotta find the blighter. Sheep farm, no storehouse. Bloomery, sawpit. fishers, a livestock. I would like to have a minimum 20 oxen at any given time. And we're going to have to start upgrading these hitching posts to stables just as soon as we can as well. For the time being, let's just dump hitching posts left, right and centre. And that should significantly improve the pace at which we can produce, well, anything really here. If you're enjoying the video and have the time, it would warm my tea if you could pop me a like, drop a comment with feedback or subscribe. But regardless, thank you for joining me and know you're appreciated. To the last land that we expanded into, and we can see again here we've got a beautiful waterfront coming together. We've got plenty of space for people to move in. We've got reasonable food and fuel supplies. Let's get these Burkish plots upgraded to level 2. We'll do the same for this one here, and all of them really, and that's going to start bringing in the coinage we need to get apples planted, pears planted, quinces, and also some more vegetables, because at the moment we've only got a couple set up here. Got a fair few spare workers, so let's assign an additional worker to the foraging hut, and let's get another hunting camp put down, because it looks like one hunting camp on their own isn't quite cutting the mustard with the amount of wild animals we have available. We've even got foresters working over here. Let's get a couple of workers at the charcoal kiln so we can start turning some of this firewood into charcoal for more efficient use. And otherwise, things seem to be growing quite nicely here. We've got plenty of properties available. And you can see everyone is well supplied for water. So let's pop in over to Ironheart, pay them a visit and see how we're doing. As we said before, for the most part down here, we're leaving it as it is, but we've extended over to here. And you can see we've got our first couple of fields planted up and a new part of our settlement over here constructed, and we've even got families starting to move in. So let's get some carrots planted in there. Carrots, cabbages, beets. Carrots, cabbages and beets. And we won't extend any of these dwellings with additional living space until we've filled up these dwellings here. Let's get some storehouse and granary workers to supply our good folk here with markets. And then let's sweep over the lost over to Mandlac, and let's exalt in our salt production. Oh, 151. That's what I like to see. And that about brings us up to date with where we are with each of our regions. So I think it's high time we take a look at the new developments available to us. So what do we do here? We set up with an origins of the Bamberg smallholders. So that gave us the new upgrade, which is small holdings, and that enabled us to apply that to some of our Burkish plots so that they produced more food, for example, from a vegetable patch or from a small holding than they would otherwise have done. So what do we have here? Oh, coming soon. Oh, I've been baited. I'm sure that wasn't glowing last time. I'll let all of you be the judge of that, but I am sure they weren't glowing. But I guess that's just to show how far we've progressed. Okay, so a little disappointing that we can't move in and start setting some new perks, but I think it's safe to say from what we're seeing there that it's coming soon. Okay, well in that case, let's focus on what has happened, and that's that they have fixed the malt problem, and they have fixed the problem we've been having with the deep mines. So actually, we should go over and pop our heads into Ironheart and go to the mining pits. And we're producing a reasonable amount from here. We've got a few spare workers, so let's get them working on the pits, and let's get an additional mine set up. If we can squeeze one in here. Looks like we might not be able to up there. No, actually one has collapsed down here, so we'll just rebuild that one for the moment. We may revisit this one day and more evenly distribute them so we can have 4 instead of just 3. But for the moment there's a fair surface deposit we can work our way through anyway, before we need to worry too much about making a deep mine. And we eagerly await the harvest. And I eagerly await the inevitable swaths of green upgrades that I see available to us in Boatlandia, so that we can start having level 3 housing. Game's definitely starting to feel the population, and I'm not surprised, we've got 791 just in Boatlandia. So, how are we doing for supply? What are we missing? Still garments, and actually beverages here as well. There is a tavern here. They are struggling with supply. Let's get an additional family working there, because we do have plenty of ale available. And we need to pop over here and make sure we have orchards planted up in these dwellings. And those that are complete, let's start assigning what they're going to be growing. So we'll just work our way through so we've got an even distribution. And I am looking forward to seeing those trees go into the ground. Looks like we lost one of our mining pits there. And we might as well get additional workers in this mine here and upgrade that to a deep mine. Get this one repaired, make sure their maintenance schedules are set correctly. And up to 112 roof tiles already. And soon we'll see how this harvest plays out. There's just 2 days left. And you know what that means? That means we need to start over at Mandlac and work our way around, assigning people to work the farms. So, as usual over here, we're going to need to strip people from other industry. Although we are going to assign an additional person to work at the charcoal kiln just for a minute. Let's take out our foresters, so that they can go and work at the farms. And we're doing pretty well for timber. Let's increase the logging camp by 1 as well. And let's continue to fill up our farms. And we don't need these guys working at this time of year realistically. So they too can make their way into the farms. Splendid, so that's Mandlac taken care of. And let's sweep over into the ever radiant Boatlandia and start with the top farm. We don't have nearly the same number of available workers here, so let's unassign again people in their droves from the foresters' huts and reassign them to work the fields. Where are we going to find all the people to work in these fields? I think what we're going to have to do probably is take some of the mine, but actually we had another mine collapse, as well as one that's undergoing upgrading, so they're not going to be freed for a minute. And let's make sure we've got that assigned. There's no one working at these foresters' huts. Plenty of woodcutters down here actually. Let's actually take all of those woodcutters from their jobs. So we do have plenty of woodcutters up here. We've got 750 firewood, which is more than enough for us to be turning into charcoal for the minute. So let's assign these work. Found all our spare workers. They're in the farmhouses. Well, you know what? This would be a good time then to start with harvesting over here. And I assume we've set this up with barley. Oh, really good rye spot there actually. But for barley, that's one of the better places we have for barley production. We've also got all these new fields here as well, which we have yet to activate. And farmhouses down here to work on them. So let's get these farmhouses active. And let's activate another 3 fields here, because I think we should have the workforce to work them. So that's going to be rye. And I know it's only a small harvest percentage, but let's go barley. Just to see how much we can produce here. Because anything will help with overall levels of malt. So pop those in there, set an additional family to work there, and the harvest has started. And I think, despite what the counters are telling us, we're going to be fine. The fields do indeed appear to have all of the goods in them that grew from last year. So let's grab these foresters and make sure our farmhouses are full of workers. So that's 2 that are full there. Let's fill this one as well. And then make sure we fill these as far as possible. Another level 2 burgage plot. Let's take some of our fishermen and assign them to work one of the farms up here. Windmills are empty, so that's fine. Market stalls are there. So the harvest is handled in frost check. Over in Lagstrasse, we have no shortage of available labour. So let's fill the farms up to brimming with an eager workforce. And we can even do that pretty much before we've stripped our foresters' huts of workers. But we do need them, so we'll go and grab them out. Set them there. And are we addressing our oxen problem? We're on our way. We've got 6 as opposed to the 4. But let's go around and start upgrading some of these hitching posts that we planted down earlier on, so that when we do start to get oxen arriving in larger numbers, we have the infrastructure to support them. There's no point buying them just for them to end up wandering away. That ought to do for a second. And I think we should also hear, so we've got flax and rye in these fields. Let's activate another 3. And let's go for rye and flax as we have elsewhere. Rye and flax. Rye and flax. It's only 16% here. What about these? Not great for flax here. Actually better for barley than for flax. So let's go in these ones for rye followed by barley. And we'll do that on all of these. Rye and barley, rye and barley, rye and barley. Sounds like a name, rye and barley. Maybe it is. You're called Ryan Barley? Do let me know. That would sound an interesting thing to know. Let's make sure we get an additional farmhouse built down here as well, because I do suspect we are going to need more workers with the amount of farms we just opened up. So we'll get those going. And there's a mass migration of sheep as some of these fields become occupied. Hopefully we haven't run out of pasture space by doing that. We should have plenty, but actually most of these are full. What do we have down here? 28 out of 75, so I guess that's where most of them are moving. And that one's in fallow as well, so they're moving across there. So I think we're okay for a second, but we may need to add some additional pasture space, even if it is temporary, before we get more fields set up. Don't have any farms in the last land this year. It is something we'll be looking to expand to potentially in time for spring next year. Let's get a couple of additional workers at this hunting camp. And we'll get someone working at the mining pit. Take it we already have someone gathering stone. Nope, so let's get someone working there. Make use of the population we've started to grow up. And talking of making use of the population, let's fill out the last of our regions in need of a farming boon. And let's address things down here. People moving in. Okay. That seems fine. Approval is not great. These people doing? They're not terribly efficient. We may need to assign additional workers to those properties, but all in good time. And it would be good to upgrade the church here as well. But we're going to need just about everything for that. So I think we'll be happy for a moment with our production of iron in this region. We'll be satisfied with what that's giving us as we export it to our other neighbouring settlements. As the rain falls, work continues in the fields. And let's hop on down here. And do we have anyone that's moved into any of these small dwellings? Doesn't look like it just at the minute. So what I might even go ahead and do is reallocate Chicken Man to Brewery Man. If you ask me, well, that's an upgrade. And how are we doing for fruits? We've got more pears than anything else, so we need quincies. So we'll plant some of those where we have space. And vegetable wise, do with some more cabbage. Can't imagine why you'd want more cabbage. But I'm not here to judge, I'm just here to provide. And let's get some piggies. And maybe we'll get some chickens or apiaries here. He says, as he does only one of those things. Stables are starting to be filled. Oxen are flowing in from every corner of the region. Oh, interesting. So it looks like quarries have been updated to only have 4 families working in them. But because we had 6 families working in each before the update, we still have 6. So let's make sure to never unassign our quarry workers, because we're getting more out of these quarries presumably than we should be getting. Either that or we're wasting 4 from 8 work families, but let's assume that we're getting more for our money instead of wasting our time, shall we? Yes, yes, royal tax this, royal tax that. Unless you're going to come and do something about it, I don't particularly care for your royal tax. You're not well known for enforcing it, my king. The fields are teeming with life. And as the workers lag themselves out of the farmhouse, it looks like we're into planting season. So the harvest is done. What have we managed to collect here this year? 117, 174, 230 wheat here, 300 barley, 388 flax, loads of flax. And how are we doing for the Weaver's Workshop? Some of that will be from previous years, I believe, because we haven't worked our way through it all. So we've only got 4 linen. So let's go down and visit our Weaver's Workshop. We have 23 11 and 22 yarn here. What about our new weaver production down here? 17 and 15. Let's order some oxen and do some upgrades down here. And let's assign some families to these new weavers' workshops we've set up. And hopefully this year we see a little bit of malt it turned into beer and ale for our own citizenry here in this region. To do that, of course, we'll need some brewers, and we've got plenty of breweries down here.
Don't be shy.
So I've really come down to how much malt we're producing. Oh, so many stocks damaged. Doesn't look like it was a lightning strike though, so not the end of the world. And why don't we... don't need that. Why don't we activate these fields here as well? So let's go for a combination of rye and barley in these also. Or there is high fertility for each. Who can't be sustained on a diet of rye and barley? I know not a man worth knowing that cannot. Somehow we're still negative dwelling spaces here. So let's go in and make sure that anywhere where we can add additional living spaces we have. Doesn't look like we've got that as an option for any of these anyway. So that might indicate it's time to build some slightly higher density housing. We'll just check fertility. We've better spaces to be planting than over here. So we can use this for housing. Let's take a road up here. And let's take a road here. And we'll put down a continuation of the central road as well. In fact, we'll carry that right across into Boatlandia. We'll carry it on again to connect down to this bridge. And let's build, or get ready to build, some higher density properties here. Just big enough that we've got space out the back. Try and make them nice and even. And we want each of these to have... And maybe we could do that. Each of these to have expansion space in them. And we'll do the same on this side. Just for slightly fewer houses. So we'll put those to be built there. And looks like we're getting on with
You'll not find
planting.
spiderwares anywhere else.
People hard at work in the large fields we have here. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We're up to 62 clothes as well as 83 shoes here with 30 ale. And what's this? Properties ready to be upgraded to Burgish Plot level 3. Those who are in the closest proximity to the taverns. So as and when we see level 3 Burgish plots come up for upgrading, we're going to go ahead and smash that upgrade button. And it would be lovely before we end this particular playthrough to see Boatlandia grow with some level 3 Burgish plots spreading throughout the villages and throughout the towns. Because until now that's really what we've been lacking. I'm going to repair that one and demolish that one because it does seem that really has increased the likelihood of a collapse. And we are now producing way more at 1 deep mine than we were previously from 3 together anyway before the patch, so I'm not too worried. All of those assigned for planting. And we've managed to fill up this row of housing here already. And isn't that gorgeous? Don't know what you're doing in there at this time of year. Progress, ever moving forward. Cross-check 2 is well into planting. How are these other fields and what are we intending? Barley? Hopefully. It's okay for barley. Better for barley than it is for flax. Possibly wheat we're looking to do. And in reality it'll probably be a combination of barley and rye. But I don't think we have quite enough of a workforce as yet in our farms to enable us to open up additional fields. For that we're going to need more people, which is quite astonishing given the very rapid growth that we have seen. It's a 400 population in Frostcheck. And with that, it's time, with just one living space available, to start upgrading some of these Burgish plots to have the extensions we always planned for them. And the same along this strip here. Or the water's edge, I'm not sure. This strip really is fitting what we're making here. And we're marching on into November, and before we know it, we'll be into winter. And we probably ought to check as well that we have got ample space in our fields for all of our sheep, because we're up to 300 sheep here as well. And actually, if we've got plenty enough for clothing, he says as he looks at 23 wool and 0 yarn, maybe we do need some more. I was going to say otherwise we could start culling them and turning them into delicious food. So delicious. But perhaps not just yet. So I think we will indeed look to make space. But I don't think that's going to be in adding farms at this second. So, we've gone up a level in Boatlandia. Level 3 burger spots are being completed. It's so exciting. Anyway, as I was saying, what I think we're going to do is we're just going to set up some dedicated sheepspas. And I think this is a good place to put some sheepspas. So let's just fill out this area. We can have them wandering around and falling into the deep mines, which I think will be great. Some sheepspas there. Some sheepspas down here. Just like that. We've got some more sheepspas. Oh, and as the snows fall, we can rest assured we have plenty of sheepspas. I think that's enough of me saying sheepspas, so I'll just say sheepspas once or twice more, sheepspas, and sheepspas. It's becoming something else, so we'll stop. Now, we definitely have not made it all the way with our fields here. So we're going to leave our workforces in the farms so that they can get straight to it next year. That being said, we probably are done at the fields up here. Looks like we managed it. So I am going to unassign this farm. At least most of them. And set those families we free up to work at the windmills. And let's head over and do something similar in Frostjack. Make sure that we have enough families to work the windmills. So we'll fill up each of those. And let's get some workers at the tavern. And set up an overstock there. And then over in Boatlandia. Anyone else for an upgrade? Doesn't look like it quite yet. Despite the fact we have 30 ale, 94 clothes, 126 shoes. But here we are, some of our level 3 burger spots. And as we upgrade to level 3, the issue of accommodation is going to go away. Because we double our space. So actually, look at this. Burger spot level 3. They would like grain. 2 types of meat or fish. And beverages. Have we run out of meat and fish? Is that what's holding us back now? All of our properties have clothes, but they have not meat or fish. Well, that's tragic. Fix one problem and another one rears its head. I've got 119 pork and 118 chevron. How do you not have meat? Okay, well, we can partly address this problem by ceasing the sale of fish. Because at one stage we were looking to export the eel that we were making and fishing. I suppose we were making it per se. So we're going to stop selling that away. And we could probably look to start opening up some more pork places, but here we are. The level 3 revolution has begun. Before we know it, everywhere will be level 3. Now it is briefly, as people realise they can go and buy pork from the market, the properties are becoming upgradable. I'd love to get all of the properties in the OG boat up to level 3. But we can see it is really starting to spread now. Oh, literally, we can see it working its way up the street. Gonna have to slow the pace of the game so we can get to all these places. Now, I wonder if we're going to run into a roof tile problem, although it looks like that's fine. I think we probably fixed the roof tile problem. When I say I fixed it, I mean that the developers have fixed it by making the deep mines work again. Let's upgrade these as well. So we've plenty of space for Oxy boys. And everywhere you look, families are upgrading to level 3. And wherever we misclick, things we don't intend to happen. But it's okay. Because finally we're rising up the stories. Who'd have thought when we settled this little high street with a church at the end looking over the lake and the mountains, that we'd have a population of 816 living here. That our initial settlement here in the boat would be but the smallest part of a much, much wider medium town. And for too much longer, we're going to be at large town. Such a thrill. So what are others missing? Beverages, meats and fish. We've got a decent ale supply. Might be best we upgraded this to a large tavern. We've got a few more lads working there. That's not the only tavern we have in the area. I do believe we have another down here. And you are supplying, but we'll upgrade you as well. And hopefully our breweries can start putting out a little bit more alcohol. Goodness, goodness, goodness. We can scarcely keep up with the rate at which level 3 properties are popping off. Yep. Just a few seconds go by and we're able to build more. I suspect these will also pop off soon as well, and then the little core of buildings here will be level 3. And care not for the royal tax because we have level 3.
Cheated him? Never.
All it took was a little patch to the game. And the view of the manor in the background there with its stone walls is a pretty one to behold. Whenever we spot a house ready for level 3, let's swoop in and make it happen. The level 3 burger spot fever is spreading. People are hearing about how much fun it is to have an extra story on their house. And there really is a lot of information on the screen. Okay. Mandlik, how are we doing? Some of our new properties have been constructed. Let's upgrade those that can be upgraded and expand the others so we can turn it into even more living space. Let's increase the number of people we have working at the granary and the storehouse to help with supply. And plenty of shoes, but we're not making any clothing here at the moment. That's because we haven't got any sheep. But now we're selling salt again. We do have quite the supply of money coming in and finances. So with that in mind, I think it's probably time that we looked to get a sheep farm up and running. So we built a couple over here. So let's get a couple of workers in this one here. And then let's visit our livestock trader. And let's import 20 sheeps. And 20 lambs to start with. Just to get us going. And we've already set up pasture space on our fields. So there's plenty of space to house them. And some of these fields are really drained out. We might have to switch them to have one less rotation because they're not worth planting if they're going to have such low fertility. So, yeah, I think anywhere that we've got wheat in the rotation that's not currently planted, we're going to swap that out for fallow so that we can get some goodness back into the soil. And we're still gathering up that surface deposit of clay, so that's fine. And plenty of upgrading going on here. Level 3 properties popping up all over the place. The Grand Castle stands proud. And over in Frostcheck, look at that. That is a lot of upgrading ready to take place. We're definitely going to run out of roof tiles with these properties. In fact, we may even end up with more level 3 properties in Frostcheck than we have in Boatlandia, and that is not something I expected. So let's upgrade all of these. Do it while the game's paused to be a little bit kinder to it. That's nearly half our roof tiles. We actually run out of timber first. We knew it would be something. Watered by something as simple as logs. Let's get some additional workers at the logging camps. And we'll have to make sure that next year we've got a fair few foresters working as well. As Boatlandia gains the honoured title of large town. Free up some workers to make sure we've got plenty available. Lagstrass is doing well. Just need to add some specializations over here. So we'll do what we said we were going to do, and we'll stick to keeping it a little bit mixed up in terms of what we're producing in each of these back gardens. Combination of orchards and vegetable plots. Splendid. I think it's probably worth getting a couple of additional workers here. An enemy unit has been spotted right at the edge of our new settlement. So I fear war has come to our doorstep. But we need to rally our forces. So it looks like we've got a couple of groups of brigands here moving in. So our garrison at the moment is actually positioned over in Ironheart. So we're going to move them down here to the edge of the village. And as for Lagstrass, we're going to raise our 2 militia of spear. And I think that's probably going to have to do us. What do we have available in terms of hiring in help? Let's take a look at what mercenaries are available to us. Actually, oh, So there's the loss, but they're a little ways away. It's over here. What else do we have available to us? Boatlandia, Boatlandia. So, no help there. Let's track and see where these brigands are headed. Looks like they may have split up into 2 groups. Some are headed this way, which our retinue will be able to take care of. Hopefully none are headed towards the lovely little settlement of the last land, because we do not have any defences there. Looks like they're cutting a diagonal path down here. So let's take our banners of spear and gather them on the edge of Lagstrasse. And they're going to need to go and help the last stand as soon as possible. And we're actually going to need to run our retinue as well. If we have any chance of stopping these brigands before they do some significant damage. The last land. Somewhere we've only just got going, really. And I'm actually going to set a storehouse and granaries we built down here. Storehouse and granary, not just 2 granaries. Our spears are filtering in. Our retinue is moving down as well. Question is, where are the brigands? Any moment now they could be bursting through this forest. There's one unit. Let's reform up that unit of spears there. And we want to be positioned so we can push towards where the brigands are. From the direction of the town, to avoid any unnecessary losses. We'll set them up as a shield wall. We'll set them up defensively, and we'll do the same for them. In fact, we might go aggressive with them. We'll push in from the flank. And let's engage. We'll take on that bunch of brigands there. And we'll have these men prepare for an attack from these brigands by forming a shield wall. Bother. Let's fall back. We don't want to be taking them on from the side. Let's keep bringing in our retinue. We need to take out this bunch of brigands so we can move on to this one. And we'll set up a long line of defense along the road here. And these more exhausted troops will just have to hold their own. If we could pull back into a proper shield wall, that would be helpful. Never lost a man. And once we're done pushing through the brigands here, we can outflank those, continuing to assault our shield wall. But with our superior fighting formations, we are dealing with them. And we're actually getting that 3rd division now moving over to these brigands. So I think we'll push straight into them. We'll go more balanced for this engagement. And let's push over to an aggressive stance. Now it's twice their number we have here. Doesn't look like we're going to need the retinue. So I'm going to move them back off to a station position over in Ironheart. And we're all but done taken care of the brigands. We're going to need to build a corpse pit to take care of the bodies. And we're going to need to employ at the church because we have lost some of our own men in the conflict. But there we go. The brigands are broken. And the men of Lagstrasse have defended the last land with their lives. 8 men lost their lives fighting for their fellow compatriots, and their loss will be remembered. In fact, to mark their passing and the place of battle, where one of the men of Lagstrasse still holds our banner proud, we'll set up a commemoration there so that he might be remembered. Never let it be forgotten when the people of the last stand were defended by the men of Lagstrasse. Well, with another successful defence of the realm, we can continue on looking towards spring. We're well into February now. And we can start to look forwards rather than backwards. With a stepped up forestry work over here, we're definitely going to need to make sure that we have lots of families working in the foresters' huts. And we'll get some working in these as well. So come next year, we've got plenty of trees planted to cope with all the many upgrades we have. As you can see here, the entire street is getting upgraded to Burgish Plot level 3. Over in the Heartland, we have a few properties ready here also for upgrading to level 3, so we'll make sure we oblige that straight away. And you can see the number of dwellings available now is skyrocketing as these properties are being upgraded to Burgish Plot level 3. And we've got that brewery hiding in there as well ready. And there's a sight to behold. Surrounded by the high roofs of prosperous peoples. And we're at the maximum settlement level. If your building requires maintenance, I suggest you maintain it. Not something that can be done for you, friends. You need to do it yourselves. And it may be some time now that we've got level 3 Burgish plots coming in until these properties here are properly upgraded. And we have orchards planted there. Not to worry. Food supply is good. We're not making loads of money here in Boatlandia. But as tile production picks up, we should start to export more of those. We've got 168 at the moment. Let's pop down to the trading post and see about exporting more. In fact, what are we exporting currently? Roof tiles, we're not. So let's go to export, and we want to keep at least 100 in supply. And we're importing barley, so we might need to stop doing that, but we'll see how things even out once we have roof tiles being sold. And we're going to need to make sure as well that we have some people working at a malt house here, because traditionally we haven't produced any barley here in Boatlandia. So let's go through and set up a malt house. Oh, we actually do have one working there. That's fine. So we are domestically producing some. And as the thaw comes in, we'll see any of the farms that weren't quite finished off last year Pressing forward. As frost check also goes up in level. This is 3 burgers pot, 3 row. Come together nicely. As for Lagstrass, we continue to make improvements over here. And actually some of these properties now are being upgraded to level 3 already. Let's get an additional worker at the tavern here. And how are we doing here for malt? We've got 26 malt. And that's of all the barley we produced. We may even need to get an additional brewery. I don't think one is quite cutting it. So let's go down here. And let's make a second brewery. And some of these need to be level 2 in any case. And obviously many haven't been moved into yet anyway. So we'll just keep a steady progress and a steady eye on making sure that we have everything in those that we need. As we continue to mill our grains into flours for the bakeries to take care of. And if we have spare workers, we could look at getting an additional fisherman set up and running, but we are extracting most from it. It's not too much of a concern. And are we out in the fields? And it doesn't look like it. And we'll check down here as well. Yeah, we are actually, so we're still working on the fields down here. So we've got 2 fill farmhouses assigned, but let's fill up this one as well. So we can get all of these fields planted up nice and quickly. And down in the Lost. No, not the Lost. This is not the Lost. Let's just flip back over the border. Lagstrass. Last stand. There we are. So fuel is down to 4 months. But we have got a couple working away at the charcoal kiln. Let's also get an additional family working at the woodcutter's lodge. And let's relocate that over here next to its other contemporary production areas. And as for the last land, we probably ought to be starting to think about raiding to the next level. So we'll get fuels distributed. We probably need to get some additional workers at the granary and the storehouse. And we probably ought to upgrade those to larger ones as well. So we will do so. And what else do we need? Animal produce will be fine. Sure. Apparently isn't taken care of by small game. Let's meet some fish. Animal produce. Fruits. Okay. Vegetables we are starting to grow now. We want to upgrade in the church, obviously. Mostly food and garments though. Well, we'll just keep at a steady pace of upgrading here. And before too long as well, we should be able to build a regional manor. And let's put that a little bit further up. And in fact, this might be a good place to put it up here. And the reason for that, with its own garrison tower, is so that we have a fortification that's fairly close to the edge of the map. Because as we saw with those brigands arriving just then, they can always come in from the edge of the map, and by having a wall fortress here, we can help defend from invaders who would wish harm upon us. With a spare workforce down here as well, we can also probably start to build some various plots. There's not much work at the moment. We're still working on regional wealth here. And because we've got fairly large plots set up, it's going to be a little while before we can afford to fill them up. So we might as well get some additional families working on forestation. Let's check in at Ironheart. Still mining away. Fields are nicely planted up. People are settling into the new homes that we've set up for them. So let's start to get some animal pens set up along here. Splendid. And we've still got some place for people to move into here. Food 7 months, fuel 5. Well, food should hopefully be taken care of by what we're doing here. Having said that, we are going to need to build a windmill so that we can actually mill the produce we make. Let's find a nice spot to put this. I was not getting good efficiency there, I don't know, but 95% will do, so we'll pop that on the hill there. And then we're also going to need a bakery. I think we might as well put that over here in the new settlement area as well. And let's get some additional families working at the storehouse and the granary. Might even get 3 working there, because at the moment they've got nothing in there at all, which is no good. Flying over to Mandaluk. Let's see how we're getting on, make sure we have finished all of the planting. It looks like we have. So we'll free up those families. And we'll do the same here. And get the windmills active. So I imagine we have plenty of grain here that needs to be processed. Not tons, but a fair amount. And how's our little new row of houses here doing? Got some properties ready for upgrading. Let's expand that one that we didn't upgrade previously. Expand the others that we can there. And even in Mandaluk, we're up to a respectable population of 333 citizens. And a rich nation it is becoming with all of the salt that we're managing to harvest and export. And with some domestic barley production, we should be able to produce a decent amount of malt. So we've got no barley this year, but we will next year for the first time. So let's make sure that we have a malt house down. We've got one here with someone working there, so that's grand. And we've got a tavern. Let's set up overstock supply to 10 and get a couple of people working there in anticipation. And then let's make sure, yeah, we've got a brewery here. And maybe let's look to add a second brewery. We've got the butchers there we built earlier. So let's make sure that they're set up to make sausages. And with sausage production going on there, let's convert you to a brewery. So we have a few breweries to work the malt when it eventually comes in. And we'll probably look eventually maybe to extend barley production to somewhere else as well. There's not a priority at the moment. There's lightning flashes. Let's check in on Boatlandia and see how we're getting on. Approval is up slightly. There we are, struggling for supply of a few items, obviously grains being a new thing that needs to be supplied. But we're okay for garments and for fuel. Meats and fishes, they want 2 now. Hopefully some of the eel we're fishing out will become available to them. I don't really want to put 2 fisherman hut stands because we don't want to completely exhaust the supply. We need to leave something there to breed, and you can see that now we've got someone living here. But orchard on the edge of the lake is being planted up, and to be honest, if this house were nicely upgraded, this would probably be the place to live. Got a beautiful view of the manor, of the walls, and of the large town. And looking the other way, got a lovely view of the lake, and we can see some of our other settlements springing up along the banks of the river. And look at that, some nice burgage plots over here as well. Wow. And as the logs come back in, we can see more houses here are ready for upgrading to level 3. So we'll work our way along here, upgrade those. How are we doing for timber? We've got a fair amount, so we may even be able to get a fair way through these upgrades. It's probably roof tiles we're going to run into a supply issue for. But we've a decent amount of finance here, so we could probably buy in some roof tiles if it came to it. Oh, and let's get some waterfront properties upgraded to level 3 as well. What are we short on? Planks and roof tiles. So planks should be pretty cheap on the open market, so that might be something worth importing. Having said that, it's fairly easy to make. Let's make sure that our foresters are full-on workers, as we are fair making our way through the trees we have available to us here. So with those set up, let's go ahead and get another saw pit put down perhaps. Did we move that down here? I'm not sure we did. Well, in any case, let's open up an additional saw pit. Pop that one there. Ooh, look at that. On it straight away. And the waterside district of Frostcheck is really becoming the place to be. Look at all those lovely tiled roofs opposite the market. And with a well-liked place and a population of 444, Frostcheck is becoming the place to be. Continue to upgrade properties in the last land as and when it becomes available to us. And hopefully with the additional workers we have in the granary, we're starting to get a food supply, and that's going to enable us to upgrade some of these burgage plots to level 2. It looks like they're all starting to come online now, which is great. And the order we have here in the fields and in the properties is quite different from the AI splurge that we had when we first started repairing Ironheart. May is in full spring. You should say spring is in full spring. Let's just watch some of these houses go up. I do love the look of the level 3 burgage plots in the morning. See the plasterwork going there on the one closest to us. And I'd really like to get all of these waterside properties upgraded to level 3. So we've only got 4 free workers in Frostcheck. Now we are working quite hard on getting forests set up, but I imagine we have got spare workers who are not currently doing anything in the fields. So let's free up anyone at a farmhouse that isn't needed. And that should massively increase the number of people we have available to work on upgrading our housing to level 3 as we aspire for it to be. And we've got a couple of properties here that we can upgrade to level 2 as well, so we will continue to work on those because they could do with a few extra people in them so they can get all of their planting done of their vegetables. Vegetables being an important part of what we make here. And look at all these animals out in the back gardens. We've 20 oxen here now, so we should be bringing materials pretty quickly. Perhaps not as quickly as I'd like, but we're getting there. And the properties are going together. You can see glinting off the roofs there of the level 3 properties over in the Heartland, Boatlandia. See, most of the high street in Boatlandia now is set up for level 3. Just missing meats, fishes and beverages on a couple of the properties towards the end. So let's get a couple of extra families working at the granary here to help get all of the resources we need into the right places.
Well, perhaps it was simply
And quite the farm over here, considering this was never going to be one of our farming settlements. And a lot of sheep. 500 sheep now. And we've got 23 wool. We are turning all of the wool into clothes. So I'm happy to continue to let the number of sheep we have grow. And we may need to consider more pasture space here as well, because it looks like we're using a lot of what's available. And even as I say that, I'm wondering if we're using everything that's available. And we're getting pretty close. Oh, and we've got our properties along here, which are all now occupied, ready to upgrade to level 2. So we'll get those on the list for upgrading straight away. And apparently expanding that one there. Due to a little lag spike we had. But no fear. Let's make sure we've got foresters hard at work here. Double up all of these postings. We have the people available. It's doing okay for milling grains, but we'll get a couple of workers in there anyway. Additional worker at that sheep farm. Smack that upgrade as soon as it comes across our desk. Ooh, perfect. Quick. With those 3 we complete the Heartland. With level 3 upgrades. A joyous thing to behold indeed. And look at the little gaggle houses here. I love how these all come together. Such a tight little street. That's nice. And we're very swiftly moving towards the next harvest. Quite a rate of knots actually. And let's also make sure that the newer foresting area is kept abundant with trees. It'd be nice to see this glade fully planted out. But with plenty of people working on that, so that shouldn't be a problem. A couple of upgrades for us here in Mandlek. And you know what? With the amount of money we have available to us here, I think we just as well import some barley. So that we can start to get going on production of some malt and get some beer. So let's set that to 20. And let's get some additional logging camps constructed. Somewhere where we're not going to be uprooting too many trees. So we'll get those there. And connect them up to the road network. And at our sawbit.
Keep your hearth warm.
Oh, well, it's just one family that works at the sawbit now. Let's set a reserve of 100 timber. And we'll get an additional couple of workers to help with logging. And they'll have some additional storage at the new logging camps that we're building. This is too steep. Let's squeeze another couple in here. Connect that off to the road there. And that can be our log storage area for the local region. Ooh, and another property ready for upgrading there. Skim over to here. And a few properties here as well, ready for upgrading. And also ordering of some animals for their small holdings. And we'll get some planting there and get it upgraded at the same time. And we'll order some goats initially for there. We'll get a worker in at the communal oven. And the windmill has been constructed as well. Fuel supply is still not great, so let's go down and get an additional worker in our woodcutter's lodge. And we should be turning plenty of charcoal, but very low productivity with the workers we have here. Let's do some reassigning. And we could definitely be bringing in more fish, so let's get a couple of extra workers at that fisherman's hut. The manor is almost constructed in the last land. And we're running out of fuel. And that's because we didn't reassign anyone to the woodcutter's lodge once we moved it, so we'll get some people working there. And that will take care of that problem nice and quickly for us. And we never assigned anyone to the corpse bits. That probably upset people. Do we still have corpses lying around? No, looks like they went away, and we've got the shrine marking the point at which we lost people. We've got a worker in over at that mine there. And things are progressing at a steady pace here. And let's get some beets planted, so that's our third vegetable. Do we have anything down like stress to upgrade? We do. A couple more properties to go to level 2. So we'll get the upgrading on those completed. With a nice spattering of additional living space where we misclick. Free those lads up for construction. And frost check. We've run out of beverages, and as soon as the harvest comes in next year, I imagine we'll be back to a spate of upgrading to level 3. In fact, we're still working on getting a few popped together anyway. Let's get another horse, and let's go over to, what do we have? So we've got quite a bit of unassigned stable space, so let's go back down to our livestock trader, wherever he is. Not there. Logging, trading. So where's the livestock traders that hide from me? There it is. Let's get to 40 oxen. Make it so. Much of the construction of Boatlandia is complete. Central market. Got the glorious level 3 burgish plots on the high street. With the outbuildings that look like they could be level 1 burgish plots.
These things do happen.
And it looks like we're a little shy on ale here, despite the fact that we're buying in barley, But as you can see, we're going to have a fair bit of barley in this year's harvest domestically for the first time, which is going to help. We've also got these fields out here, which hopefully before long we'll be able to start tending to once we have a slightly higher level of population. And that will also help towards our own domestic food output and barley output for alcohol. And we need to assign these buildings here. So let's get some chickens. I haven't got a great number of chickens elsewhere in Mandalak, so we'll get a row of chicken farmers in here. Just like so. And again, we've got barley coming in for the harvest here as well. So we'll speed things along so that we can get to the harvest. And I imagine across the way, in the last land, yep, we've completed construction of the manor. So while we have a little bit of money here, let's go and equip this retinue with a full division of fighting men. And let's upgrade their armour as far as we can for the moment as well. And as I said, when we've got the resources here, it would be good to set up a defensible castle structure to protect from future invaders and raiders in the local area. We've actually got just enough money to do all of them, so that's perfect. So that's going to offer some additional protection. And how are we doing up here? Where is our manor? It's over here. So, Ironheart. So we've got retinue and Mandalak, Boatlandia, the last land, Flagstress and Frostcheck. Not Ironheart. I wonder if it's something to do with the fact that this originally was a settlement that belongs to the AI. So they had a retinue, which is obviously destroyed in one of the early raids. Not by us, by the raiders that came in. The brigands and outlaws, and we've not been able to recoup a retinue here since. Fortunately, we have enough strong neighbouring allies that we can lend our retinue. So let's get some goats in here. And a few pigs as well. And then assign some animal pens where we haven't already got something built. So when we have families move in, we can quickly purchase some animals to fill them with. And we might need to start thinking about expanding some living space up here as well before too long. And let's make sure we've got enough people working in the farms, ready for harvest. And with 119 barley, we need to make sure we've got a malt house set up as well, which we pop down here. Or was that the communal oven? That's the communal oven. So let's get a malt house down next to the communal oven. Pop it on this side here. And look at that. Swath of houses ready to upgrade to Burgish Plot level 2 in Ironheart, not Ironheart, in the last land. And we could do with some additional planks after that upgrading, which I'm sure we'll be getting to work on. We're doing our planting there. It's going to be some time before we get 672. I mean, it is a big area, but still, that is a high price. Yes, we'll need to come up with an alternative source of income before we get to that. We are making a dent in the animals there now, but we have food for days and days and days. And our fuel situation is being taken care of now also. And we have got some spot here where we can potentially get a field set up. So why don't we construct a farm? We'll pop that down just here. And then let's build some fields. And we'll start with... what's in our way there? Let's go for some massive fields. 2 Morgan. 1 there. One here. And then another... I'd like to build it there, but obviously there is something getting in our way. Maybe if we start down here. It's a novel shape. So it's filling out to that road. That works. 3 very large fields. I dare say we'll need 2 farmhouses to work them. So we'll build a second there. And then that'll give something for us to do with our spare workforce and help towards the food situation. And how we're doing over here, got a couple of properties already again, just working our way up from Bergsport level 1 in the new hamlet we have. Still got a little bit of space for people to move into. Order in some animals where we haven't done so already. And that's all of those. All of these are taken care of for the most part. Let's make sure we've got things assigned to all of these farming plots, small as they may be, and orchards where we've got them as well. And it won't be long before harvest. In fact, we're there. So let's make sure we've got the farms full of people. There's no point leaving things in the fields. We want it all out. Looks like we didn't refill our foresters' huts last year. Hopefully that's not going to come back to bite us. Unassign our windmill workers and get them working at the farms instead. And we have plenty of workers here. Yep, so that's grand. Let's check. Ross, check. So let's unassign our forestry contingent. We'll just leave a couple of foresters to work. And then we'll start to fill up our farmhouses. It's that time of year when there is much to be done. And then we'll need to pull out our windmill workers and get them over here in some of our original farms. Nick one of the foragers, put him in there as well. And hopefully that should provide the barley we need. We could probably start importing barley as well. Because again, we've got plenty of wealth here. And what we might even do to avoid the price of barley going up too much by importing it in multiple regions is we might import a smidgen, just a smidgen, of malt. If that's something we can do. We can get ale. Yep, there's malt. So we'll import. We've actually got 64. So is the bottleneck not ale as I thought it was? 63 malt. 10 ale. Friends, are you just not near enough a tavern? Our tavern is here. It has ale, but it can't reach everyone. In that case, let's build a couple of smaller taverns on the waterfront, and wouldn't those be lovely places to go for a drink? So we'll pop one small tavern there, and we'll pop one small tavern in here, and get those working away. We've already assigned our farmers at Boatlandia, or have we? No, we haven't. So make sure that we do that. And take some of the workers from the charcoal kilns, but mostly from the foresters' huts, and free them up to work elsewhere. Those two are full there. Those two are full. And just make sure that these are full. Yep, that's good. Move additional workers into these farmhouses. Don't need anyone working in the windmills presently. So we can unassign them and move them on over into our farmhouses. And we'll need to free up some workers as well. So it looks like people are coming out of the foresters' huts. Now it looks like we might need to build a couple of extra hitching posts as well. So let's get some of these in here. Dotted about. So there's always an oxen nearby. Like so. I don't think we quite have the personnel to man extra fields this year, so we'll leave that as it is for a second. And we'll get some small holdings set up here for chickens. And the people of Ironheart are learning a new skill that is growing food. Last stand is also coming along nicely. Do with a bit more fuel, but we're well on our way there. So as the harvest pours in, hopefully soon we'll be in a position where we can get more and more of these lakeside properties upgraded to Bergsprott level 3. As you can see, some already are, and they are on the backdrop there as well. It's a shame we couldn't quite flesh out across here, but I think that would require quite the population size. I don't think we're quite going to get there. The game in its current state of how well it runs for the period of time that we're playing it. We're up to about 5 or 6 restarts per recording session at the moment, which is, the game starts to take quite a while to load into as well, once you've got as many people as you do living in your regions as we have. You can see we've plenty of available living space here. And actually, so that we keep pressing forward I'm going to go over to the trading post, an additional family working here, and we're actually going to directly import ale, so that we always have enough. And we're going to up the priority of our new taverns. But of course, at the moment, everyone is busy working on the harvest. People flying about, oxen running from one place to another. People bartering, people planting. People loving and living. In places such as the wonderful region of Boatlandia. And look at that, a truly teeming land. We certainly have a lot of sheep. I do wonder if perhaps if we started to cull some of them, that we might maybe get a frame per sheep. But you never know. There's a lot of people stood around in this field. Obviously struggling to finish with the harvest. Move along, move along. Very suspicious. They don't know how to look busy, do they? So royal tax comes in. Apparently that was enough to get everyone back to their job. And with lots of people moving in now as well. To all our new additional space in our level 3 burgage plots. And the harvest and the planting is strong across our regions. Let's just sit here and look. From this precipice, we can see each of our towns, each of our settlements, each of our regions thriving. Now, no doubt, if we were to stay here for many more years, and we would see each of these towns spill over into one giant lakeside city. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. So I'm quite keen to see this new pub constructed, and actually we've had a few people move in, so even with all of the workers assigned to the fields, construction on that is pressing forward. We're well into October now. And what are we doing here? Working on the fields. Not necessarily all working in the field that makes the most sense for them, but at least they are working on the fields nonetheless. The roof goes onto our small tavern. And we'll just wait for this one to be completed so that we can assign some workers and set an overstock limit, and probably then pretty much straight away set up for it to become a large tavern. That is, if the goods ever arrive to finish construction. I think this lad could perhaps be being slightly more efficient with his time. And perhaps he's just working on his moonwalking.
Freshly baked, and still warm from the oven.
He's a hard worker when it comes to moonwalking. Certainly very diligent in his practice. As is everyone else with their staring. Ooh, he's off. It's enough moonwalking for today, apparently. Alrighty. How are we doing elsewhere with our harvesting? Probably just about there, I'd imagine. So it's probably a good idea to start getting some people back into some windmills. So we can turn some of that produce, some of that grain, into flour, which we can bake and eat his delicious bread. Much progress is going here also as we see winter finally start to settle in. We've got a few properties down here ready for upgrading, so we'll get those well on their way. We need to start thinking about some additional housing over there shortly. And here we go. So let's set an overstock of 10, upgrade that straight away, and to help with construction, now that it's winter, we can massively free up population of our farmhouses. Except for where they still have grain to produce. Fantastical. And 25 workers should be more than enough to see this large tunnel constructed in record time. How are we doing over in Boatlandia? Plenty of clothes, a little bit of ale. In fact, it might be worth getting some additional workers at the malt house because we have lots of barley. So let's build some additional malt houses, which we'll place over here. There's lots of coal going around. Don't know why people don't just light a fire. We have plenty of resources at hand. Alright. Yes, yes, we know you're cold. I think you'll be fine. Yes, yes, we know you're cold. So how have we done over here? All the planting's done. Obviously, it's winter. Reduce the number of people in these farms. Let's get some workers at the windmill that we installed. And let's get a couple of workers at the malt house. And straight away, let's go and get a tavern down. And then we're going to want some additional living space. And let's fill out to the King's Road, because we could look to pop down a couple of orchards. So we get 3 there, so that's good. So we'll get those down. And Einhart is quite wealthy as well. No shortage of money there. And we're nearly there with that tavern. Partway there with that one over here. That's all we have time for today, friends. I hope that you found this as relaxing to watch as I found it to make. I would love to hear any suggestions you have for these or other videos. Pop a comment below, I'll read it and respond, and if you enjoy the video then why not like and subscribe. As always, I appreciate you and your feedback. Until next time, cheerio.